One point of view that I have a hard time wrapping my head around is the point of view that seems to hold that violence is attributable to religion, or at least more attributable to religion than other phenomena. Religious wars obviously have taken place. I won't deny that. I don't think anyone would. And some pretty awful ones. One could call the war, the rather series of wars that accompanied the breakup of Yugoslavia as religious wars. And they were, in many ways, the most horrific wars that we've seen since the end of the Second World War. Throughout history, there have been plenty of religious wars. The 30 Years' War was probably the most brutal, atrocity-ridden war in European history, and it's left its mark on European thinking, probably to this day. And it was most certainly, at least, begun as a religious war. It ended up as just another dynastic war, but it started out as Catholic versus Protestant, or Catholic versus one type of Protestant versus another type of Protestant, etc. Just chaos and atrocity upon atrocity. There's no denying that these sorts of things have taken place throughout our history. But I wonder if that actually is the explanation for war. Or if non-religion can be blamed just as equally as religion can for war, or any number of things. The long series of wars that accompanied the French Revolution had nothing to do with religion, unless, of course, it was part of the old order that was trying to reestablish religion as the dominant force in European life, which the French presumably were trying to eradicate, or at least weaken. The wars, most of the European wars of the 19th century had very little to do with religion, if anything at all. Mostly they had to do with nationalism. And once we get into the 20th century, well, then it gets even more difficult to blame religion for everything. The First World War, if someone can make a link between that war and religion, I would be rather impressed. They might have used religion as a means of bolstering the morale of their soldiers, but here you had several Northern European Christian countries trying to wipe each other out, not really in the name of Christianity. The emotive factor on both sides was actually nationalism more than anything else. There was a dynastic element in it as well. But generally, it didn't have much to do with religion. And 20 million dead in a war that really had very little to do with religion. Nazi Germany, I'm sorry, but anyone who really knows the nature of Nazism knows that it was not really a religious phenomena. As a matter of fact, it was generally it was seen that organized religion was the enemy of Nazism. If your name was Shapiro and you were an atheist, you got herded into the camps anyway. So it was a racial war more than anything else. It was, at least from the Nazi point of view, it was the attempted subjugation of the subhumans by the Herrenvolk, the natural superior people. From the point of view of the Allies, it was just re-establishing Western civilization against barbarism. Religion, again, was kind of used, but more as a morale-boosting thing. It wasn't really seen as a crusade. Certainly from the Russian point of view, religion, no, was not. It was an officially atheist war, regime, and it was basically class struggle. That was how it was justified. Plenty of other wars, the Vietnam War, the Cambodian War, all these sorts of things, all the terrible wars of the 20th century, very few of them have had religion at their base. So why is religion blamed for everything? Why is religion blamed for violence and setting people against each other? I understand things like Northern Ireland and Bosnia, the Middle East. There's no denying that religion has a powerful influence on these wars. But these wars also involve a great deal of politics and nationalism. So there are other elements to it as well. One might also point out that the greatest peacemakers of the 20th century, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, these were profoundly religious people. Mother Teresa springs to mind as well. Maybe she wasn't a peacemaker, but she was sort of a conscience of humanity. And even in our own time, the man who, more than anyone else, was responsible for the peaceful dismantling of apartheid was Bishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa. That guy, if you ask me, more than anyone else, deserves the credit for what he's done to have a peaceful transition, which a lot of people didn't believe would be possible from apartheid to the present, more or less, democratic government. So really, is religion that nasty a thing? I understand right now with the advent of Islamic fundamentalism, we're seeing a new sort of upsurge in religious-based violence. But I think that it's a little bit dishonest, or perhaps at the very least a little bit myopic of people to blame religion for violence in all its forms. Unbelief can be just as violent. Again, the totalitarians were not religious. I'm not trying to let religion off the hook here, but I don't really think that it's honest to decide that it's a convenient lightning rod for all the violence of human history. It gets mixed up in an awful lot of it, but it's actually caused very little. Thank you.